On today's very special segment, you're getting double the trouble, double the laughs, and double the funk. I want to introduce my friend Bruno.
Robbie, clap.
Seriously.
So, AK, tell me, what do you know about Cinco de Mayo and the Battle of Puebla?
I'm basically the flag. So let's dive a little bit into the history. What is Cinco de Mayo and what it isn't? Cinco de Mayo is Mexico's victory over the Second French Empire at the Battle of Puebla. It is not Mexico's Independence Day.
This whole time, I thought it was just a night that I got to drink more tequila than usual and feel good about it.
Cinco de Drinko.
Hey. At the time, the French army was considered to be one of the best in the world. Now, the only thing that's best in the world about the French is their baguettes, because they're very rude. They approached from Veracruz with over 6,000 men towards Mexico City. Puebla is considered to be the door strategically to Mexico City for that reason.
I'm sure they wanted to reach the door and not the city itself.
Right.
Because with the inhabitants in Mexico City, they would have been wiped out, you know what I mean?
Very true.
The less equipped Mexican army with fewer men were able to repel the invaders. Talk about, home field advantage?
Yeah.
They knew the land. But 1 year later, the French returned with a much larger army of 35,000 men and a new general in the second battle that lasted over 60 days, with the French unfortunately winning.
Now, Cinco de Mayo is reported to have been celebrated in California since 1863.
Wow.
As opposition to French rule in Mexico. See, I told you they're rude, and everyone in California knows it. Since the 1800s,
we've been woke since
we've
the
been very
1800s.
woke.
Yeah. But Cinco de Mayo spread across the entire country during the 50s and 60s as it was a Chicano-led effort. But of course, it really exploded once the beer companies got their hands on it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. According to Nielsen, Cinco de Mayo sees more beer sales than the Super Bowl or St. Patrick's Day. Wow, that's a lot of beer.
I would think it'd be more tequila, but I mean, I guess beer,
I know.
Is a good
I'm
starting
a little
option.
bit upset. I feel like maybe people are just not smart. Well, Mexicans know.
Yeah.
I think this is a lot of white people buying beer.
Right.
That's okay.
So growing up, did you ever hear about Cinco de Mayo?
Man, I think because I grew up Mexican American but in more of a kind of like whitewashed environment.
Okay.
I don't think, well, to add on to that, because Cinco de Mayo is associated, as we just mentioned, with drinking, I feel like my parents tried to steer me away from it a little bit and didn't really celebrate it themselves or probably know all of this history that we just described. So I think growing up for me, it was not as big. I always heard about it and saw sombreros and, what about you?
Actually, don't think I ever heard about it too. I remember hearing Cinco de Mayo and then, of course, seeing all the decorations and everything.
Yeah.
But I remember asking my mom, I'm like, oh, what is it? She's like, oh, some battle we won. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Go Mexico.
Yeah, go. Like, all right, let's celebrate.
Yeah.
I don't even think I knew about the battle. I just think it was like, okay, like people seem really happy and I'm down to be
Definitely,
happy too.
yeah. You know what I would love to see though? I would love to see the streets shut down and have a parade happen. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens in Mexico. They'll shut down the block and you'll have the mariachi or the banda and you're hitting it down the street. It's a whole parade. But I'm I want to see that happen.
Yeah, and I heard Puebla's the spot too to celebrate. I've been to Mexico City a bunch, but I've never been to Puebla, and I really, it's too late this year, but maybe next year in May, take a trip to Puebla and we can both celebrate.
I'll be there.
A little extra tequila.
So what do you feel about the holiday now? We're older, we get to go out, it's highly commercialized.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot. It's funny, whenever I do go out on Cinco de Mayo, I don't see a lot of Mexicans celebrating, which kind of sucks, It's it's a lot of white people sort of taking over the culture. And
we also know how to celebrate at home though.
Totally. I think that's where we are celebrating.
Right.
We're not celebrating at the Irish pub. It's it doesn't make any sense.
For $2 shots.
Yeah. So I'm like, damn, this is not what I think our forefathers had intended. And to add on, it's the whole capitalism thing where all these advertisers are just preying on this cultural sort of celebration that actually means a lot to our people and profiting off of it. I think the main issue with, for me, with kind of celebrating Cinco de Mayo and highlighting Mexicans is that the holidays become about getting drunk and not about the actual historical significance of it. You know what I mean? Like when we celebrate President's Day or Veterans Day, it's like honoring our, not everyone's not getting wasted.
We're not dressing up as Ben Franklin.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like this tokenizes us a little bit, but I agree with you.
That's true.
I do agree with you that it's better than nothing. And like for instance, Hispanic Heritage Month, nobody even knows when it is. And it's like starts in the middle of a month and ends in the middle of a month. And Cinco de Mayo gets more play than that whole month combined.
That's true.
So at least, like you said, there's that. We're represented, we're celebrating, and that to me, as a Mexican, is good.
Yeah, I like that it's a stinger, right? You're gonna notice it and then you're gonna ask questions so we can become more informed. But you're right, I don't like it when they mock. When they mock us, when they dress up in a sombrero and then they start talking in an accent. Like, you know you're acting a fool. You're trying to make us look like fools.
It starts wholesome, and then as white people get drunker and drunker, they're really, great. I can do a really good impression. Yeah, so that's when all hell breaks loose. Robbie knows, he's done that. But
don't be a fool this Cinco de Mayo. Support Mexicans.
Yes, and if you're gonna go out, drink tequila, not beer. You'll get full and not that drunk.
Cheers.